For nearly 50 years, she has been one of the most photographed women on the planet, 3 consecutive Sports Illustrated swimsuit covers, a face synonymous with an entire era of American glamour. Fans assume they've seen every version of her. What they haven't seen is the version who spent years silently surviving a marriage built on a lie. Christie Brinkley's rise to fame happened fast. Discovered while studying art in Paris in her late teens, she was soon one of the most in-demand models in the world, eventually becoming the first model to appear on 3 straight Sports Illustrated swimsuit issue covers. In 1985, she married musician Billy Joel, a relationship she has since called one of the great loves of her life, and the two had a daughter, Alexa Ray. Their marriage ended in divorce in 1994, but Brinkley has spoken about him for decades afterward with real warmth, describing him even in her later memoir as something close to a soulmate. That same year, in the middle of her divorce from Joel, Brinkley survived a helicopter crash in Colorado with real estate developer Richard Taubman. She has described the terrifying, disorienting moment the aircraft simply dropped from the sky, an experience so intense it bonded the two of them instantly. They married within weeks and had a son, Jack, though that marriage ended after just a year. It was her 4th marriage, to architect Peter Cook in 1996, that would define the most painful chapter of her personal life. For a decade, their relationship looked stable from the outside. They had a daughter, Sailor, together, and Cook adopted Jack as his own. Then, in 2006, everything shattered in a single moment. While Brinkley was delivering a graduation speech in the Hamptons, a stranger approached her and told her, bluntly, that her husband was having an affair with his teenage daughter, an 18-year-old employee of Cook's firm. Brinkley has said she froze completely, locking eyes with Cook across the crowd as he shook his head in denial. What followed wasn't a quiet separation. It was a 6-year legal battle, playing out partly in open court, where allegations of pornography addiction surfaced alongside the affair itself. Brinkley has since written candidly about how disorienting it was to realize she'd been married, in her own words, to a stranger living an entirely separate life. She said her only goal through the ordeal was protecting her 3 children from the fallout of a marriage that had quietly been a lie for who knows how long. For years afterward, Brinkley mostly stayed quiet about the details, choosing to shield her family rather than fight publicly. But something shifted after she left a courtroom one day and referred to Cook simply as a narcissist. The comment struck a nerve far beyond her own case. Letters and messages poured in from other women who recognized their own relationships in her description, and Brinkley realized she wasn't alone in what she'd survived. That realization eventually became the foundation of her 2025 memoir, Uptown Girl, where she finally wrote in full detail about the marriage she once called the most tortured relationship of her life. The book arrived roughly a year after another difficult chapter. In 2024, Brinkley revealed she'd been diagnosed with skin cancer, discovered early enough to treat successfully. True to form, she turned that diagnosis into advocacy, urging fans publicly to wear sunscreen and take skin checks seriously. Now in her 70s, Christie Brinkley remains remarkably visible, still modeling, still acting, and by her own description, still hopeful about love despite 4 marriages that didn't last. She said the lesson wasn't to stop trusting people, but to trust herself enough to walk away when something is wrong. So the next time one of those legendary photographs of her circulates again, remember what's standing behind the smile. A woman who survived betrayal, a courtroom, and a cancer scare, and came out the other side willing to tell the whole story instead of just posing for another cover.